Hi everyone, I'm Mark with Artisan Restoration, and we're just finishing up our little log cabin here behind me after 2 weeks of hard work. Let's take a look at all the things we did. Well, we replaced logs. These were actually standing in the grove last week. We cut them down, took them home, put them up on the sawmill, and brought them back here. We had the crowns were rotted off the ends, and that was one of my main concerns. So the rest of the log was good, so we just spliced on here with a half lap joint and some log screws and took care of that. Other areas we had to do some epoxy work on. Up underneath that window there's some epoxy work. This is epoxy and this is epoxy, and that bottom log, the end of that, we did epoxy on. And the other thing we did is we treated it with boron. Sprayed the whole thing, and then we also went around and did the boron rods, and you can just see down here, this has just been drilled. It's filled with caulking, but there's a 3-inch long boron rod down there. They're every 2 or 3 feet, so when that log starts to get up to 20% moisture, which is where the rot begins, then those things dissolve and they kill the fungus. So anyway, this is some original acrylic chinking that was in good shape. A lot of it wasn't. This is original masonry chinking, and here's some more original acrylic, and then this is some of our acrylic. We used a different color. This gets a little darker as it cures, and this masonry chinking is what we used on most of it, and that actually gets a little darker. So some of it over here has already started to match. Let me show you. You can see the bottom row down there. That was done 3 days ago, and already it's starting to match this material up here, which is the acrylic that was done yesterday. So we started the project off last week by jacking up the entire foundation and putting concrete blocks underneath them. We put some solid blocks on the ground, and then we built it up with 6-inch blocks, which we left underneath the building, and then we poured a 12-inch wide, 14-inch high concrete wall with those blocks sitting in the middle of it. And so now the whole foundation's continuous poured concrete, and won't go anywhere. We also added some vents here, foundation vents, to let moisture out from inside the foundation. And this door was in really bad shape. There was a hole big enough for a gopher to go through, maybe a raccoon actually. So that got rebuilt with a bunch of old oak planks we found in the garage, or I mean the barn. So anyway, let's take a quick look at the inside. In order to jack this thing up and do all that foundation work, we had to take out the floor on the inside and put it back in here. So we pulled out all the floorboards, numbered them, and the floor joists weren't in very good shape either. So we had to replace a bunch of them, but it was there's no way we were going to do this foundation without removing the floor. So anyhow, we had to do a fair amount of chinking on the inside, which is also masonry style chinking. Wherever we did log replacement or did any pounding on the outside, a lot of it would fall out. There's our new door, which took a lot longer than we thought because the whole thing was so out of square it wasn't funny. And I've never seen a window quite like that. That's just amazing. Anyway, it should be 6/6. This guy must have been dyslexic. 6/4. So anyway, we threw all the floorboards back in, and we threw some baseboards in there because there were some gaps around the edges. And last thing we had to do was get this wood cook stove in here and this old pump organ. I guess we can go upstairs and look quickly. Next, on the one side of the house, there was actually a blacksmith shop, and this was the bellows that was used to run the forge. We may be back next year to do siding on the gable ends. You notice there's actually no framing there. We've got vertical sheathing boards, no studs, and then we've got the siding on the outside, which has seen a lot better days, shall we say. So I guess where the old chimney went up through there must have been a stovepipe, because it's sure not big enough for a masonry chimney. So anyhow, and then we had to get the trapdoor back in the right place, and you open that and we can see we put down some wire mesh to make sure that the critters never got back in here. So anyway, thanks for following me down to Iowa here. Oh, the order thing. Tulip and Anna Paris. It's on the national